Already scanning.
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the October 25th, 2023 Luzerne County Board of Elections and Registration regular meeting. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our roll call, Ms. Vasaro? Here. Mr. Mangan?
Here.
Mr. Schramm?
Here.
Ms. Duryea? Here. And Ms. Williams? Here, all present. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion. Motion made by Ms. Vasaro. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Schramm. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, none heard. The agenda is adopted. We'll now move into public comment on agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters listed on the agenda. It's limited to 3 minutes and 1 comment time per person. We'll start with those who are in person, and please state your name and municipality prior to making your comments. Is there anybody in person who would like to speak on an agenda item?
Just like to speak generally. Ramilda Ferragamo, Luzerne County Manager, West Hazleton Borough. I just would like to introduce Gene Molino formally to the board. He will be the prime solicitor for the election board. Of course, come election time, all hands on deck. But for the purposes of the meetings and going forward, any questions that you have can be directed to Attorney Molino. I welcome him. I've known him for decades. He's an exceptional lawyer and just a very good person. And I think that he will be a good addition to the group here.
Thank you. Welcome, Attorney. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Anybody else in person would like to make any comments on any agenda items? Okay, we'll go to the Zoom platform. If there's anyone on the Zoom platform who would like to speak, you can click the raise hand button at the bottom bar. I don't see any hands raised right now. This is an opportunity to speak on agenda items. If there's anyone on a phone line, and I don't see anyone on a phone line, you could just jump right in, start talking. Doesn't appear that there are any public comments on agenda items. So we will move into the next part of our meeting, which is the approval of meeting minutes from October 4th, 2023 regular meeting. They were attached to the agenda, pages 3 through 7. Is there a motion to approve?
I make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Mangan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Schramm. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstentions, opposition, none heard. The minutes from the October 4th, 2023 regular meeting are approved. We'll now move into the agenda items. The first agenda item is the November 2023 municipal election, certification of the ballot by the Board of Elections. This was for information and board vote. It's pages 7 through 36 on the agenda, which would be the proclamation that would be going out, being posted. And this would be going out as a legal notice in the paper. And when do you anticipate that going on?
I just got confirmation today from Citizen Voice that I'm anticipating on the 31st. So that will be, because it has to between 28 and 11/4. Just has to run between that time.
And will this also go up on the website, a link to it? All right. So any questions, input, board members?
Just that I would like to know if it's possible that we do the certification of the ballot prior to the mail-in ballots going out. I feel it's kind of like weird, like for my name to be on something that I didn't approve and it's already out there. I'm just saying, I don't know if that's possible, that we can do it at an earlier meeting or even call a special meeting prior to them going out. Does anybody else feel like that, or is it just me?
Yeah, our meeting on the 4th was prior to the proofing of the ballots. I understand what you're saying. And now the mail-in ballots have already gone out and we're kind of symbolically certifying. I think it would require having called a special meeting in between for that specific purpose.
And I'm okay with that if everybody else is.
What does everybody think about that?
I would be fine with a special meeting before, as soon as it's ready, before the ballots actually hit the mail.
I know that initially in some emails, we were told that the sample ballots were unofficial ballots. And I guess they became official once they went out to the mail-in voters. But I guess really what determines when they become official? Is that when we would certify?
Typically right after all of the candidates sign off and after the proofing process is done, which that's several processes with the screens and everything like that. So once those are all done, we don't find any more discrepancies. That's when they're the sample ballots or official sample ballots.
Official sample ballots, and then that could be when we would then say, put our name on it, saying.
Yeah, and I think the reason that this was kind of after the mail ballots, usually, I guess the proclamation is because the way that it was done before would take either the director or the deputy a long time to do it. We would have to manually type in a Word document all the offices, but Emily figured out a way to do it where we could just run a report on Minion and it puts it kind of in Excel like that, which takes way less time, so we would be able to get it earlier. So, but I think that's probably why it was done so late past, because it's very time consuming.
Well, I mean, I think, having this to just pour over at home, in my spare time and then, come into a special meeting and say, yeah, everything looks good to me, it's a lot, and it'll give us that last minute, we'll be able to catch a couple mistakes through email and stuff like that too, I think, if that happens. I like the way we did it this time, even though I wasn't able to be present. I liked the fact that everybody was, was all hands on deck. I like that. So that was really nice. But that's all I had.
Well, I made a note going forward, to bring it up at a meeting prior to the ballots being done, to bring it to the board to ask it. If it looks like the way it's going to fall, the same thing might happen, because some calendar, it might not. And so if it looks like certifying the ballot would fall, in between two meetings, then we could discuss that. So I made a note for going forward for the primary. So for this 2023 municipal election, the certification of the ballot, is there a motion to certify the ballot?
We'll make the motion.
The motion's made by Mr. Mangan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Schramm. And we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Mangan,
Yes.
Mr. Schramm,
Yes.
Ms. Cerniak,
Yes.
Ms. Fasaro,
Yes.
and Ms. Williams, yes. And the motion passes unanimously to certify the November 2023 municipal election ballot. Okay, the second agenda item is the approval of the November 2023 municipal election polling place sites. There was a link, this was for information and board vote, and there was a link put on with the agenda to bring up the spreadsheet for the polling sites. I know at our last meeting, we voted on the changes.
changes, yeah.
There were 4, and then there were 2 where
Where
just,
the
just the address
yeah.
changed. There was, it was the back door or a change in
Yeah,
the street door, but the same site. So it looks like there still were only 4 changes in total. We voted on those 4 changes at our last meeting and approved them. But today, the vote would be on approving all of the, all of the site, the rest of them, but as a whole, all of the polling place sites. So they were, the link was there, and also it's for in person, there's a printout. And I'll turn it over to the board for any questions.
I just have one question. With Hazleton, did we talk to the mayor about ticketing the people in front of?
which one is it again?
I think it is the Borough Building, no, is it West Hazleton? No, that's,
Hazleton.
it's
It's a
Hazleton.
It's
It is a
either, was
Hazleton.
it either Lackawanna College or was it City Hall?
It's Lackawanna College.
Okay.
That's the one.
I'll make,
yeah,
I'll make
Lac-
a call to the mayor.
Yeah, just to verify with him, because for some reason, unless we do, he starts ticketing all of the people in front that park there.
Board meeting with the mayor tomorrow.
Okay.
Other matters, and she's on, and I'm sure she'll bring that up.
Is that okay with you, Jen? Can you do that? Can we make sure Jen's unmuted?
Hazleton 1 and 2, Lackawanna College.
Yes, I can certainly do that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else on the board have any
Yeah,
questions?
just basic question. All the contracts are in regarding these polling places. Everything's,
Yeah, and if we didn't have one, we had one from the primary. So
you
it's
you have
still
to redo that every election now?
just
with
for the,
contract?
just for the year. But we
Oh,
did, we
so if
did
you're
them.
in, you're in for a year. Okay, all right.
And specifically for the public, everything is ADA compliant,
Yes.
correct? Okay, thank you. Then motion to approve, unless somebody,
Go ahead.
anybody else have any? Motion to approve the November 2023 municipal election polling place sites.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Mangan. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Schramm,
Yes.
Ms. Cerniak,
Yes.
Ms. Fusaro.
Yes.
Mr. Mangan,
Yes,
and Ms. Williams, yes. The motion passes unanimously to approve the November 2023 municipal election polling place sites. Number 3, agenda item is the Bureau of Elections budget presentation. This was tabled from the last meeting. This is on for information, discussion, recommendations of board, vote of support or non-support of budget by board. I'll turn it over to Ms. Harvey.
Yeah, so the budget,
Oh, I just want to add one other thing. It is on, it was linked on the agenda for the public, on the agenda page, and also for those who are in person, it's pages 65 through 67. Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead.
no, you're good. So the budget, we will be presenting to council on Monday. So, I mean, pretty much, we just had a couple increases with, we moved some things around and actually made the budget better and a real budget because we were just, everything was kind of getting paid out of 550-15 other contractual. So I went through and actually broke down how much we're spending on office supplies, how much we're spending on site rentals, subscriptions, and everything like that. So this budget is more accurate than it's been over the last, I don't know how long, but if you have any questions, but again, we are, Ms. Pecora and I will be presenting it to council on Monday. That's when we'll be going in front of them.
And if I may, I would suggest to the board that if you have any specific requests from the council, that either you make that request as a board, or you go to the hearing as an individual board member and make that specific request to council.
What do you mean by request?
If you want any changes.
I do have some questions on the budget. The first page, the Help America Vote Act, the HAVA grant, says 25,000. And the 2022 actual amount was 165,000. 2023 actual amount was $394. What's created the differences in that grant in those 3 years?
We, I believe, got, I think this is one of those ongoing grants, which I believe, Emily, is that the one we were working with Michelle with, that HAVA one? There's a couple grants that, I think this $25,000 one, we're currently working with the county manager's office, just because I think it's specific to upgrading the SURE system. So I think that money has to be spent or tied into the SURE system, which will be upgraded over the next year or two. So I think that's how that money came into play.
Yeah, but my question was, why is there such a difference in the grant? Usually with the grants, there's an amount of money that you could be eligible for. And I see such a discrepancy over 3 years, why 1 year only a few $100s, and it looks like the projection is 25,000. So you know that there's only 25,000 available?
Yeah, I'm not 100%
When there was
sure.
165,000 available in 2022?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was spent in 2022. I'd have to look into that because I'm not 100% sure on why we got that $165,000 and what it was spent on. But I could go back in our records to check.
Yeah, I'd be interested
I
in.
would say there had to be a capital purchase of some sort.
Yeah.
That grant was provided for specifically, and then 2023, aside from the magic separator machine, which probably wasn't under the capital grant, shows the lesser amount.
Election Bureau usually gets a HAVA grant every year, right?
I'm not 100% sure on that, just because I know in 21, I don't recall getting a HAVA grant when I was here last time. But again, I could go back and double check. I'm not sure on the 22. I wasn't here for that one, and I don't have anything on it. So I would have to go back and look to see what items came out of that.
Yeah, one of the big things one of my question marks is if we're entitled and able to put in for a grant and receive more, that would be great to get as much as you can, as much as you could qualify for. So would we be able to find out the answers to that before Monday, before you present on Monday?
Oh yeah, I can double check. I know Ms. Pecora and Ms. Cook were here that time too, so they might even have some answers.
Okay, all right. My second question is under expense reimbursement. Again, there's such a discrepancy between these three numbers. And I just was wondering if we could get some background, like expense reimbursement anticipated for 2024 is $65,000. And you could just kind of give an idea of what that expense reimbursement would be for. And then in 2022, it was 166,000. And in 2023, the actual expense reimbursement was 380,000.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure. That was not one of my items that I had to work on. So that would be budget and finance that put those numbers in there. So I would have to check with them because I have not done any expense reimbursements this year. So I'm not sure who that was paid to. So I would have to go back and look on that.
Okay, so I have no idea or I have no understanding what any of that means. So if we could find out before Monday what all that means and what those expense reimbursements were for.
Okay.
On the second page, under office supplies, there's a significant difference. And I know you mentioned something about office supplies and reviewing them, but the projection for 2024 is 220,000.
Yep.
But 2023 actual office supplies was 15,000. So, and then it's about the same for 2022. It was 14.
Yes.
And-
So if you look at other contractual, it was $1 million. It's now down to $800,000. It's 550.15.
I did see that.
And that was just being, that was just like a fund that they were just, everything was coming out of it. And that's why I actually broke down all of the supplies that we order throughout the year and put them in office supplies, just because I want to make sure we're taking everything out of the appropriate line items. So that's the reason for that.
I kind of thought that when I saw that number.
Yeah.
And so really you just are
I just
putting
moved it
what's
from one.
actually office supplies
Mhm.
now on the office. supplies.
Yeah, in office supplies.
And it really gives a true picture of how much you're spending on.
Yeah.
Now, what does office supplies kind of incorporate?
Pretty much paper, everything we need for the polling places, such as the boxes for the judges, anything we purchase throughout the year on Amazon, a whole list of things like that. Pretty much everything we need to run the office.
You keep a list of all those things so
Yeah.
that then you reconcile as the year goes on with this budget so that.
Yep.
The next question I have is small tools and minor equipment. Again, there was nothing budgeted previously, and I don't know if this is a new budget line, but now it's 21,000. So if you could just give an idea of why the change from 0 to 21,000 and what that covers.
I know Ms. Pecora, if you're on, I know she created that line item for the $21,000. I think it was just for, I don't know if it was for something specific that we ordered, but I know she created that line item.
So you don't know what
I'm
the,
not 100%
21.
sure. I honestly don't think anything came out of that at this point. I'm not 100% sure.
these numbers that say 2024 county manager, are those, they're projected numbers? Just
Yeah, that's our
like
proposed.
looking ahead, you're projecting 21,000 for
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And when you write this, do you have something in mind that you know you're going to need? Or is it just kind of like a ballpark figure, we might need 21,000?
Yeah, again, and I have to go back and look to see if we actually purchased anything out of there. And I know Jen created that line item, so I know she might be able to speak to it better than I can.
She literally just dropped off the meeting.
Yeah, she's trying to reconnect.
Okay, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think she's having technical.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So this 2023 adjusted budget,
Mhm.
21,000 has already been spent on tools and small tools and.
Okay,
My,
hello.
Hold on.
Are you guys
Hello.
there?
yep.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, like
Okay,
it's
let me-
about-
I'm gonna pull up the spreadsheet. We did correct that, because there was something that we had to purchase in order to,
Yeah,
and we wanted to create that line item.
and I forget 100% what it was that, I know we added that, but
Let me get my budget file up. I'm sorry about that. If you want to go on to the next thing while I find this, I could circle back to it. Is that okay?
And can you speak to the HAVA grant?
So the HAVA grant is the election security grant. We received $25,000, I believe, last year, and we do have a breakdown of what was put in for reimbursement from that. And there was one prior that we had to do, I think it was missed. So the numbers on those, they varied over the last few years because we had to go back and recapture those funds and send expenses in order to be reimbursed. So the numbers were a little inconsistent over the last few years. I do have files of that I can share with you, what the reimbursements were for those.
If you miss one, will they allow you to apply kind of after the fact? I think that in some cases you can.
Yeah, they, this year, I know everything went in on time, and I think last year, with all the leadership changes, it was really close to the deadline, but they did, Ms. McBride did get it in time.
So when do you apply for the HAVA grant?
I believe it's
Once a year?
in September. The information that I have found was, I believe 2020 and 2022.
Yeah, so it's once a year that you apply for the HAVA grant,
I believe so.
and you're not sure when that is. Can we find that out by?
Yeah, I think
Monday?
Ms.
Just so we
Pecora
don't
said
miss it again.
September.
Yeah, I'm still
And I-
looking up the small tools and equipment, sorry.
That's all right, okay. We can move on and backtrack to that.
Okay.
The other contractual services, my guess is that's probably Matheson or the
It's
moving.
Dominion, which is a $200,000 license fee we pay every year. It's Matheson, it's every other contract. That's what's coming out of there.
They estimated that at 800,000 for,
Yeah, because I took the money from the, if you look at supplies, like I just said,
gotcha.
yep, that's what I did
Okay,
there.
thank you.
And the only, the question on subscriptions is now 5,000. There wasn't anything, so that looks like another new budget line.
Yeah, that's just Airtable, the texting service we use for the poll workers that we pay monthly. We added that instead of taking it out of other contractual.
How'd you get your postage down to zero?
I know the postage, the county has postage, so we haven't used any this year.
So you use the county's postage account rather than your own?
Where is, I'm sorry, Denise, were you finished?
I do have one more
Oh,
question.
go ahead. I'm
Just
sorry.
one, well, and then still have that question on the small tools and minor equipment, what that 21 was for. The transfers to individuals, it's zero is projected for 2024, but there's a 2023 35,000. What is transfers to individuals
Let me, hold on.
at the very bottom?
So that would have just been, I have to go back and double check, but I'm thinking that was probably something that was paid out of there to somebody specifically, but I have to go back and I'll look at that too.
Would that come under
Probably the
the judges
reimbursement
of
for the papers. Because everybody went and bought paper.
No, their advertising has a line.
would that like your reimbursement for mileage and judges and so on and so forth? Is
No,
that
we
under
do have
payroll?
a line item for mileage.
Okay,
Yeah, we could find out what that is, but if Alyssa would like to, whenever you're ready, Jen, with the 21.5, then you go ahead.
okay. Where's the- Go ahead.
The
Heather.
transfers to individuals was the Elwood Staffing Service. It looks like that's what it was paid for to date under that GL code, which that was I'm looking through our financial management system and that's what I'm seeing. That was paid into them.
Wouldn't that be considered contractual
No,
services?
we took it out of there.
Yeah, I think that's where Aaron was paying that through. This was earlier in the year. So, and what Aaron did with the budget moving forward, you are going to see big differences because of her shifting the appropriate funding into the appropriate GL line. So this one does seem like a lot of big differences by the way things were being entered into the system prior.
It seems a lot nicer though. I like it. I like the fact that we can tell where money is going now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's
instead of one
exactly,
big
yeah.
general, so thank you for doing that. My question is, where's the EIG?
Oh, that's the
That's a
next budget line.
separate,
This is
yeah.
different. This is the budget. This isn't the.
Oh, so it doesn't it doesn't
No,
even. come
No,
into
it's
that.
two separate
So it's
accounts.
completely separate than
Yeah.
this. All right, thank you. Because I was like, I saw the grant, I have a grant, and my brain
Yeah.
said, where's the EIG, you know? But okay. And will we see a breakdown of that as well?
That is a grant, though. Yeah,
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be under grants since the HAVA grant's on there?
Just, I think it's just because it's a separate, it doesn't go in with our budget. It's a separate bank account. Go ahead, Jen. if you want.
The HAVA, I believe the HAVA funding, we had originally that was not separated and it should have been. And moving forward, it is now going to be broken out to reflect it being a separate account. We had talked about that with budget and finance.
But if you take it out, just like the EIG has been taken out, I mean, does the public get a real?
Yeah, they would
And
actually
does
get
the county
a
council
clearer
really get
picture. Yeah, because
I
that
think-
would actually go onto its own, it would, like Alyssa just asked, where's the election integrity grant? She didn't see it on the regular general fund budget. So that would be a third account that we would be looking at.
I mean, the question, maybe I'm confused.
No,
We
really.
can't add the EIG in under grants and so that we can get the full picture of the budget for the.
In the
bureau?
general fund?
No, can't do that.
In the general fund, you're asking?
Yeah. So there's
No,
no.
because of we have to keep we have to keep
has-
track of what interest we're accruing on that account because we have to pay that back to the state. So if we put that in with the general fund, we're not going to be able to make a determination of what interest is ours and what needs to be returned. So absolutely not.
But the HAVA grant can be. Okay.
To my understanding, yes.
Well, because you don't have to pay back the interest, right? On the
Correct.
HAVA?
Okay.
Yeah. So with the EIG, will we get a breakout and kind of a worksheet on what
That's the
that's?
next agenda item.
Oh, is
So
it?
we'll finish the budget talk and then we'll go into the EIG.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any other budget questions on?
No, because I think all my questions were cleared up when you just went through the line items and she broke them out. So that kind of really answered all my.
Small tools and minor equipment, anything on that, Jen?
I'm still looking for that. I'm looking into that specific line item from last year. I'm sorry. I was kind of jumping around a little bit. If you want to jump into the EIG.
And- That's right. And Mr. Schramm or Mr. Mangan, any budget questions? I do have another budget question. And maybe it pertains to the small tools and minor equipment. I brought this up at our last meeting, how the election bureau is using the one large drop box that was originally earmarked for one of the northern, southern, eastern, or western locations when they were purchased by Mr. Morgan in the summer of 2021. When the board requested them to be purchased, they were out, that was what they were designated for. When we lost the Pittston Library, the Bureau started using that ballot drop box from the northern site in the vestibule of the Penn Place. And we discussed that, I kind of shared because it's been shared in the one of the papers that one of the reasons we can't have a ballot drop box is because another site is we don't have another one. Well, they were originally planned for the north, south, east, west, and the election bureau was using the small one that's still there in the vestibule. It's bolted to the counter. And so I brought up, it makes sense to order one, even if we don't get another site, to have a spare, because not to have a backup ballot drop box. If one breaks, doors don't open. So my question is this something that the Bureau is considering purchasing under small tools and minor equipment for the 2024 budget?
Again, I'm not
Yeah.
100.
Thank you.
I think, so I'm looking through from 2022, 23 budget for these, and I think that may have been broken out that it was budgeted for. I'm not seeing that actually anything was actually expended on that. So they may have had something in mind going into those budget years, and I'm going to guess that it ended up under other contractual. So that may be why those, because that other tools and equipment was budgeted for in the beginning of 2022 as well. You'll have to forgive me, I am jumping around a little bit.
No, the question under small tools and minor equipment is, it says under the 2023 budget line that 21.5 has been spent, right?
No, that's saying that 21.5 was budgeted for, I believe.
Well, it's saying the adopted and the actual, okay, so that 0 is the actual, so
Right.
nothing's been spent on that, okay.
Yeah.
My
Yes.
mistake there. Okay.
No, that's
So
okay, and I
that was just a
just wanted to make
projection.
sure I gave you, I just wanted to make sure I was giving you the correct information. And what I'm thinking is going into the budgeted year, something was planned on being, spent out of that account. It has not been.
Okay. All right, so that answers that. I think that answered that. I think there were a couple things. You were just going to check into the expense reimbursement then, right? Ms. Harvey, the 65,000, what that was, and also the HAVA. When the 65,000 for the expense, and then the HAVA, how often it's applied for, when it's applied for, and if 25 is our max that we can apply for, or if we're eligible for more, and might not realize that. So those were my two questions that maybe we could find that out prior to Monday. Let us know. Anything else from any board members? Okay, we'll move on. The next agenda item is number 4, the 2023 election integrity grant.
Sorry, not to interrupt. There's an action here. for
Oh,
us
I'm
to
sorry.
vote
Very good.
or
Thank you.
support.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mangan. There is a vote of support or non-support of the budget by the board, which is our agreement with the Bureau that they present the budget to us prior to presenting to the council, and then the board would vote in support or non-support of the budget, and or make recommendations and then vote. So
So I would like to make the motion to vote in support of the budget presentation.
of the budget,
Well, it's a presentation, yes, of the budget.
Mr. Mangan makes the motion to in support of the budget,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Mangan.
Mr. Shrimp.
Mr. Shrimp.
Sorry, Mr.
We
Schramm.
look alike.
Yeah, twins.
And it would be a roll call vote. Ms. Cernia,
Yes.
Ms. Fusaro,
Yes.
Mr. Mangan,
Yes.
Mr. Schramm,
Yes,
and Ms. Williams. Yes. Although I still want the answers to my questions.
Correct.
And so the motion passes unanimously in support of the budget to be presented to the Bureau's budget to be presented to council. Okay, number 4 is the 2023 election integrity grant. Total grant money received, list of proposed uses for the grant money, and this is on for information, discussion, recommendations, vote of support or non-support by board. We don't have anything posted to the
Yeah, I
agenda
have
for
to-
this one, but I don't know if you want to just.
Yeah, I could talk about it. So the total amount that we were awarded this year is 1,038,231,038 cents. Sorry, 1,038,231 and 38 cents. Sorry, it's a little small. So I know Ms. Pecora is on. I was going to ask, are we presenting this to council as well, the EIG? with the budget on Monday?
Yes.
Okay. So we could get this to you guys too. So the proposed expenses so far, we have ordered 250,000 sheets of paper to NPC. That's $25,400.
Wait a second, I'm sorry. Start back, the
Okay.
250,000
sheets of
sheets of
paper.
paper. Do you have a figure on that or?
$25,400.
Okay,
The warehouse security upgrades, Johnson Controls will be finishing that up the first week of December. The cost of that is $104,600.
Hold on, my phone stopped working. How much was that?
$104,600. The hopefully purchase of electronic poll books, we have budgeted at $435,000.
say that.
The electronic poll books, $435,000.
Okay.
Let me see.
And they do qualify?
Yes. I do have poll workers being paid out of the EIG for $208,000. Let's see. Printing costs with NPC for the mail-in ballots, test deck, $86,627.26. Election day employees from other county departments, we have budgeted at around $10,000 because last election we had a bunch of other staff members help from different departments and we reimbursed them and it came out to about $10,000. Training costs. So right now we have Amanda doing our poll worker training. We have budgeted that at around $10,000. Just because we just wanted to make sure that we had enough put aside just in case for that. The election day employees that we have upstairs helping in the morning and most of the afternoon, around $10,000. Those are our election day workers that open the ballots and help us. We have to order drives for the drop boxes every election, a new 4 terabyte drive, $416 for all 4 of them. That was through Amazon. We ordered 2 new time stampers for the office because the old ones were in bad shape.
What was that?
The time stampers for the office. The both of them together were $1,817.76. We are adding a new full-time employee to the office, and that will be paid out of the grant. That's about $35,000. We posted that.
How does that falls under the grant? A new employee?
Yeah, we
Because
can
I
pay it
want
out.
to just say that our grant writer, Commission's Marriage, who had not been involved with the election integrity grant prior to this year, did reach out to the Department of State and get verification of what was eligible and what isn't. She also is involved now with the HAVA grants, and she believes that there is a grant that's pending, but we're waiting to hear back from the state. She thinks it's for 2022. She doesn't have her notes with her right now, but she will have her notes tomorrow about her discussions about the HAVA grant with the Department of State. When we receive those, we will pass them on to you.
Great.
So, but it's imperative that Ms. Sparrow be involved in the processing of these grants. She's been doing it for years. She's very good at it. She knows people that she deals with who are involved with the grants. So I know that with the election integrity grant, not only with the Bureau staff and Ms. Sparrow, I know we also discussed this with Attorney Gates and the controller as well. So we had a really big TAC team going on with this. And I'm very confident that what we included in the election integrity grant is acceptable. But you will get that breakdown.
Yeah, I am surprised that it would cover an employee, but again, I mean, the Department of State reviews it, the DCED, correct?
Correct.
And if something they decide isn't, it's clawed back and they offer you, the Bureau, an opportunity to put something else in place.
Yeah,
of
you
that.
can replace
Yeah.
it, but this is for co-worker training. Yeah, and that's an umbrella in the grant.
Anything else or?
Yeah, and then the benefits for that, we estimated around $30,000 for the new full-time employee. We have some consulting fees added in for around $17,393 $1.10. And I have that fee in here 3 times just because we only got one bill so far from July through August. So we're anticipating September through October and November through December for that consultant as well. And we just estimated that price. I'm not 100% sure if that'll go up or down.
3 times 17.
Yeah. And then we have for next year, we budgeted for the employees upstairs that help us around $30,000 just because it's going to be a presidential. We're anticipating more ballots and more of a workload, so we'll need more people for that. And then the last item we have here is another set of drives for the drop boxes for the spring, $416.
So what's your
That's
grand total come to?
$416,
So-
not 400,000, right?
$416.
$416.
What did I
You
say?
said thousand earlier.
I'm
I'm like,
sorry.
that's the most expensive.
I'm
drive I've
sorry, I
ever
was
heard
looking
in my
at too
life.
many numbers.
okay.
The total amount is $1,039,456.32. So we're over by around 1,000, which give or take.
Give me that one more time. 1,000,000.
$39,456.32.
Perfect. Thanks.
And we will get this breakdown to you.
The only question I have is on the warehouse upgrade. First week of December, you had mentioned we done key cards a part of that.
Yes.
And I don't have any other questions. Anybody else? So with that said, this was also on the agenda for a vote of support or non-support by the board.
I do have one more question. Did you sneak lunch in there for the board?
No
I
gifts.
Somewhere?
I did not.
No,
I
it's
don't-
not it's not a gift. It's like it's.
We usually
for
get
us working.
pizza. Pizza.
No, I'm talking about like during adjudication,
Oh,
we are
sometimes
spending our
have
own money
donuts.
out there all the time. For that.
That I'm
It gets
personally, I'm good with
costly.
bringing, I'd rather save money for
Your
the
lunch
bureau.
will be on me.
Oh,
Oh, okay,
it gets costly
I'm not gonna
during
make it if you don't
adjudication.
live in the hospital, but.
It gets costly during adjudication for us who are not paid, who took off of work and did all this during adjudication. It gets crazy. And we're like, sneak
Gift
that
cards
in
for
next
Chick-fil-A.
year. But,
My favorite
all
place.
right, motion to support the,
Ms. Fasaro made the motion in support of,
Very good.
and let me just write this in. Okay, support. And the roll call vote, Ms. Fasaro,
yes.
Mr. Mangan,
Yes.
Mr. Schramm,
Yes.
Ms. Sterniak,
Yes.
and Ms. Williams, yes, the motion passes unanimously in support of the Bureau's 2023 Election Integrity Grant proposals for that. Number 5 on the agenda is Board of Elections meeting minutes format. Ms. Cerniak, our board secretary, asked that this be put on the agenda for information, discussion, and board vote.
Okay, well, it just kind of came up really between Danny Schramm and I when we were doing the bylaws, how the minutes for the board should be handled. We do very detailed minutes, and we always have with the board, but I'm not sure it's absolutely necessary because we do also post the audios. I mean, that's pretty much what you would want to go by if you were really delving into this. I know council doesn't do any detailed minutes. It's basically, what Robert's Rules of Order requires, who spoke on what agenda items as far as the public goes and what the votes are. I can keep doing detailed minutes. I'm not sure they're necessary. From my standpoint, it's very hard to take the minutes and try to participate in the meetings. So that's a fallacy. That's bad there. On the other hand, I think the board should keep control of their minutes. I think one of us should be a secretary. I think that person should do minutes. Also, the adjudication, that's really a very detailed minutes. We don't necessarily post that, the recording of that. So that's something that also has to be done. But I don't know, for regular meetings, special meetings, do we need something this detailed?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I thought about this because I know it's on the agenda. And my initial thought was to just do what council does and make it easier for you while you're doing, participating more, and that there is a recording. But the thing that came to me today, it was with all the litigation we've experienced over all the time I've been on the board, I have many, many times gone back to minutes. And not just with litigation, but mostly litigation, when questions come up with the attorneys, those minutes have been very, very valuable. Otherwise, you'd have to sit and listen to the whole recording, and it's not right there in front of you. So when questions have been asked, I always go back to the minutes, the hard copies of the minutes. So they're very valuable to me in that way. But often too, questions have come up with board members or I might be preparing an agenda or an item and I think we discussed that, and I refer back. I always go back to the hard copies. I don't go back to the recording. So to me, they're very valuable. I think you do a great job with them. I understand not being able to always participate, the challenge of participating fully during the meetings. I mean, another thought is, I don't know, could the meeting minutes be done by somebody else besides the board member? We have a clerk, but the adjudication minutes, they're very important to have, and for litigation, they've become key to go back to that information. I know especially with the mail-in ballot litigation with no date signature, a lot of the minutes have been where we've gone to answer questions.
And I know we have had discussions in the past of who said what during the meeting, and we have actually gone back to the minutes and really dove into them. And so for me, it's invaluable too, just to, I mean, it's difficult when it's an overview. And I love the detailed minutes because we can figure out, okay, even if something's not in the minutes, like per se, like somebody didn't say, I could say, okay, it's right here somewhere, and in the recording, it's still even hard to go through the recording. It's really difficult, especially if you're trying it from your phone. It's like you can't fast forward, you can't move that little thing. It's crazy. Just my opinion.
I think where I see the greatest value in addition to the litigation cases is that every year during adjudication and canvassing and so on and so forth, we find ourselves faced with similar questions that just because we're human, we have to ask again about what did we decide in a previous election, or how did we act in accordance with this decision. So I think the minutes are somewhat essential, but there's technology out there that allows you to do voice to text that would allow you to capture what is being said. I mean, we could put something in with Manny, because I'm sure he should be able to hear everything, or put something somewhere that it actually transcribes as a person is speaking, and then that's captured, and it's available electronically, and then you could print a copy of those minutes if you want. Now, I know that it's not a perfect science, but I know also that you proofread everything with regard to minutes. Well, and that's not an insult in any way, okay? I know you go through it more so than the rest of us, but I think that's an option, so that that's being captured electronically, that you don't have to worry about missing something in the meeting on it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any thoughts on it. I know there's technology out there that allows us to do this. I mean, unless you're doing it in shorthand, I can't, because no one else is going to accept this job. I'm telling no one else is going to volunteer to take the detailed minutes that you do. So I don't know if that's something that's potentially in a budget as an item, as county manager or something like that, but the technology is available.
I know that I did order one for my office for myself.
Right.
I didn't receive it yet. I have no problem with sharing that, the Bureau and the board for meetings. So I'll follow up with IT.
Oh, okay.
It's digital. You dictate into it and it automatically transcribes it. You have to, massage it and read it, and sometimes the words get kind of mangled, but for the most part, the technology has advanced to the point where it really is really a help. So
my question would be, if, and I don't know, if say the recording didn't work, say there was a glitch and the recording couldn't be posted on the county website. If the secretary, whoever's in that position, was relying on that to then go through and transcribe it and verbally make up the minutes after the fact, you could lose some minutes without.
But we're on Zoom and it's recording right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's actually, if you had a machine that you would talk and it would transcribe, it would be here.
right here.
And then there
it
would also be
transcribe
one for
it.
Zoom that would be, so you would actually have two verbal copies of it. But one would be transcribed. And if you wanted to pick up something that you missed on transcribing, you can then listen to the Zoom recording and fill in what was missed.
It's
So the
real
meeting
time.
minutes would become the
It's-
whole transcription of the meeting.
The transcription is in real time.
So when we approve the meeting minutes, then it would be the transcribed meeting
Correct.
instead of just a
Yeah.
brief overview. That'd be a lot of reading, maybe, for board
Well, it's
members to
still-
have to
but think
read,
of it
like,
from all the writing.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd have to read through everything that was said during the meeting. It would be longer than doing a brief overview of minutes and to approve them. But I mean, it would be, probably really accurate. I mean,
We could actually look at that once you've had it, is you can edit it to the minutes that you want the size of. Some discussion you could leave out that's not necessary. Because, even if you're hand transcribing, there were things that you would just omit.
Yeah, you can.
And if you could omit it off of that, so instead of having 135 pages, you can get it down to maybe 15 or 20 pages, where you're only going to pull out the detail of what was discussed, the gist of the meeting, the gist of the topic, not everything that went on for 40 minutes, just the gist of it. That's your minute for the meeting.
I understand. And I mean, that would be the secretary's job then
Again,
to
I'm-
adjust it.
Just throwing this out, but that's a possibility. Maybe we can, use that in future meetings and see how it all works out. Because I can still do that, but
You can
But you was
try
right,
it and
you
see
know.
how it looks. If it works fine, then,
I'm just
Feels like
curious, I
easy.
mean,
Yeah.
the question is, what if Audrey couldn't attend the meeting?
Then
Somebody
somebody else
would
would have to take
the
it.
minutes.
Well, you bought a man.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Here's one caveat, maybe two, and Attorney Molino could chime in on this. Only one person can speak at the same time.
Oh.
Because if there are more than one, it's inaudible. That's why we still have court reporters in the courts. That may change with AI, but right now, the human ear and mind can distinguish voices. And oftentimes we have to, when we're in court and it is taped and there is no court reporter, you have to identify yourself before you speak.
It's not as much of a freewheeling discussion
Correct.
like this. And the point is well taken. I think we're maybe confusing meeting minutes with a transcript or a stenographic record.
Yeah,
And, you know, Ms. Cerniak said
It's
early
not a
on
transcript.
under this topic is correct. There's no requirement to be as detailed as some are suggesting. I mean, I can tell you, you certainly can, but that is not a requirement. And
No, I
looked at
know.
Some past meeting minutes, and they are extremely detailed.
Yeah, the redevelopment authority does verbatim. They do verbatim minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it really should just be a summary. You know, Ms. Fasaro commented on X, Y, or Z. Or Ms. Fasaro opined on this. Chairperson Williams opined on that.
And
Go
for-
into a little more detail if you want, but if,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know that I would get into. I don't know. If this was transcribed, I don't know how many pages it would look like by the end of tonight. but
Mhm.
That's a pretty tall
Yeah,
order.
Well, a
Yeah.
2-hour hearing. Think about it, a 2-hour
Yeah.
recording, how long,
Right.
how many pages?
Well,
The
we've
other,
had some that were.
Well,
yeah, the other
Pretty long.
issue.
Depends.
Yeah,
The other
Dropbox
issue
meetings.
for litigation purposes, and of course I'll defer to Attorney Molino, but in litigation, they want the audio. I mean, the minutes are one thing, but I'm getting the audio if I'm in litigation.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Right. And the important thing for minutes would just be what action did the board take? Who made a motion, second, what was the vote on something? Not necessarily, you know, everyone's opinion back and forth. Yeah, she's absolutely right.
I'm going back now to maybe the council way, because if I still needed to refer back, you're going to have kind of the general like topic that was discussed, maybe not as detailed, but if I were to say, I think we talked about that last April, I could go and I see it. It will get me at least to the recording and approximately where on the recording, so I don't have to listen to the whole thing. I'm going back to and I think
Yeah,
transcription would be a lot, but I'd be okay with the way the council does it and not as involved.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
and I could keep doing what I'm doing and,
Well, let's see where it goes with
yeah.
the county manager and
She
where
can-
the.
yeah.
With the digital,
She can
Yeah.
experiment.
check out
just
digital
as-
first.
Okay,
She
For now,
could
be a
be
lot of
the
work.
crash test
you
dummy.
know,
No, we did, oh, I did that before. You can put that in the minutes.
What?
I just think that'll be a lot more work, then she'll have to be doing all this editing, and instead, I think the whole point of this agenda item was to try to make it easier on whoever's the secretary. Audrey might not be the secretary
Never know.
forever. It would be great, but because she's really good at doing it, but to make it more like the councils, and then anybody has seen the council minutes, it's very different from ours. A little less, and it refers you to go to the recording if you want to hear more, which it's there.
okay.
I'm gonna make a motion for the meeting minute format to change to the same format as the county council. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Schramm. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Mangan,
I'm not educated enough on what council does exactly. So. Yes.
Mr. Schramm,
Yes.
Ms. Cerniak,
Yes,
Ms. Fasaro,
No.
and Ms. Williams, yes. The motion passes 4 yes, 1 no, to go to the meeting minute format of that the county council uses. The next agenda item is the November 2023 municipal election status / update by the Bureau leadership. Under this agenda item was poll worker status, Wilkes-Barre mail ballot status, mail ballot sent without secrecy, envelope status, and confirm that all, did I have this in there? Let me just make sure, and I just give you my notes now. Yeah, the mail ballot sent without secrecy envelopes.
Well, that's in two different states.
I'm sorry. Remember, status, Bureau update, poll worker status, Wilkes-Barre mail ballot
And
status.
it's under 7.
It's under 7 too.
Well, we'll start with 6.
Yeah.
We'll do the item number 6 first, and that's the election bureau leadership.
Okay, so poll worker status, so I checked with all the staff today. They're doing very well with poll workers in recruitment so far. They didn't give me an exact number just because they said it's hard to tell right now. They'll be able to know more early next week just because we're almost done with the trainings. But none of them have any major holes to fill or anything like that as of right now. So I was pleased to hear that. So we shouldn't see hopefully any.
Somebody knocked on wood.
Well, somebody during last night's council meeting had mentioned that they were called by somebody at the Bureau and told that, I don't know if anybody else was watching, but they said that, I believe you were there, right?
I was there.
Yeah, and they said that they were told that they were not
They denied somebody to vote.
yeah,
In
I'm trying to
20
get,
2022.
and they
but
weren't even a poll worker.
They were only a poll worker in 2023.
Yeah.
And they said that the person just should have known that she wasn't a poll worker during that time, so,
Okay.
but that they received a complaint on her. So, I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is just because I want us to be a little bit careful when contacting poll workers, because we already have issues keeping poll workers. I would like, to keep some sort of retention and be a little, I don't know who did it, don't care, really. I think that we just need to, as in the Bureau, I think being a little nicer and saying, and said, oh, somebody was complaining about you back in 2020, whatever, just let it go. If it's not directly after the election
Well-
and it's something that needed to be addressed, I think it should be let go at that point.
Well, and I could clear that up because I was actually the one that spoke to the woman, and I had a voter call the office and ask why their provisional ballot wasn't counted in 2022. And they advised me that the judge completely refused to sign their provisional ballot. So I went in the Airtable and I looked for the judge from that precinct, and we don't have anything in Airtable that says when they were the judge, when they weren't the judge, just current. So in order for that, I would have had to go to Kay, and then she pulled me the paper file of the actual judge, but I didn't know that prior to that. So that's why I contacted that judge, who wasn't the judge during that time. And I was very nice to her. So I was really surprised when I heard that at the meeting last night, because I just called and I told her who I was. And I said, we have a voter who, I said, I just want to ask you some questions from the last election. And she said she didn't work. And I said, oh, I apologized. And I told her the situation. And I said, just because we had a voter call and they wanted to know why their provisional ballot didn't count and why the judge wouldn't sign it. So I never accused that judge of anything. And I was upset that she was that upset and called in last night. So,
Okay, I think the other issue she had was that it made us look incompetent for not knowing
Mhm.
what one she worked.
right,
So maybe we can keep track of that a little
Yeah.
better too.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
that's not something you were even involved in.
right,
But what I'm saying is going forward, maybe we could keep track of the ones that they do work.
Yeah.
Start that off and use that to where we know, okay, they are working and, we have that, some spreadsheet just saying that they work.
Right.
I think it'll just
So,
lessen
We
that.
do have that in our table, every election meeting back to the 2021 general election is archived in our database, so. The one that Ms. Harley was looking into was the current election, in the future. Look back to the archives for the specific elections.
I was
Well,
just
maybe you
trying-
can show her that.
I don't want to interrupt, but I'm not sure if Ms. Pecora has her hand up. Ms. Pecora, did you need to say something? Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just so the board knows, because the complaint was made publicly after the meeting yesterday, I did talk to that judge of elections after I got her contact information, and I was dealing with the situation today, and I'm going to be reaching out to her tomorrow to offer her reassurance and an apology for what happened.
Thank you.
So I want to confirm what Ms. Cook said. We do have a list. I know it's going to be fine. We have a list of all the judges and the poll workers and where they work. And that is because we want to compile a list of our judges and our poll workers. And hopefully we can use them over and over and over again. I also want to say just generally, and this is not directed to the staff of the Election Bureau, but one of the goals of 2024 is to do customer training for all departments in the county that directly serve the public. For public servants, we work for the people of Luzerne County and those who do business with Luzerne County, and we have to be respectful. So we're going to coordinate that, and it's not because of the Election Bureau, it's just general across the board. It's something that we need to do as a county government.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so that's the status on the poll workers. So the Wilkes-Barre mail ballot status, they were delivered. The second round of them were delivered to the Wilkes-Barre post office on Friday. And I know most of the voters have received their ballots. They started getting them early this week. And again, they're advised to just return the second ballot, not the first ballot. And then the mail ballot sent without the secrecy envelope status. So those were sent out on Monday to those potentially impacted voters. So they should start receiving, if they didn't have a secrecy envelope, which we had about 25 calls in the office for people that did not receive a secrecy envelope. And once that happened, we reached out to NPC and asked them what went on with that, and they said it was a machine operator error, and they have since then retrained their staff to make sure that won't happen again. So again, we sent to the potentially impacted voters, we sent them a secrecy envelope if they didn't get one, and then if somebody called, we were offering to mail one, or they could come into the office and pick one up.
What I understand, the same thing happened in Lancaster.
Yes,
Yes.
with NPC.
Yeah.
There was a county that actually sent duplicate ballots to their voters as well. I just, Emily, I don't know if you want to add anything. But there are two words that are very rarely used, unfortunately, and that's thank you. And I want to thank the staff. for the work that they did when these issues arose. I can tell you it was a very quiet Saturday afternoon. I was trying to catch up on some work and I get a call from Aaron and Emily and Jen, and they informed me of the issue with the Wilkes-Barre City Council race with the ballot and ward mix-up. I asked them what the status was, and I can tell you that when I received that original call, they had already reached out to the Department of State. They reached out to our consultant, and by Saturday evening, when I released the notice to both council and to the board and to the press, we had a solution for that issue. And the same thing really happened with the secrecy ballots, although timing wise, because I was at an event in the evening, I wasn't able to actually send a release to council and to the board. I did have a discussion with Eric Marks. I believe in the fourth estate. When the press calls me, I try to be as transparent as possible. We have nothing to hide. And I believe that our elected officials and appointed officials have a right to know what's going on. And I do my best to get that information out as quickly and as accurately as possible, whether it deals with the election issues, whether I deal with the prison, whether I deal with a bridge that we have to close, sometimes all in the same day. I do my best to get that out. And I take the election process and democracy very seriously.
Well, since we are not trying to hide anything, we're trying to get to the bottom of it. How did it happen?
I don't know how the
File got mixed up.
the ward issue happened. I did reach out to retired Judge Agello. He is going to do assessments of both of those issues that came up. I told him he has carte blanche to the entire staff of the Bureau, including myself and our consultant, Attorney Gates. If he needs a technological expert to come in, we will provide that. I'm not a technological expert. I'm not the person that he's going to talk to. It's a very involved system, is my understanding. The voters are actually in the SURE system, and the files have to get from Dominion to our printer. I don't know what happened, but we will get to the bottom of it.
Whose
Judge,
responsibility was it to send that file
I don't know.
in the Bureau?
I don't know, but we will get to the bottom of it. But
Aaron, who was responsible? Emily, who was responsible? She doesn't know, you guys do know. Whose responsibility was it?
it's
to
my
send that file?
responsibility.
It's not
It's
your
my, yes, it is my
responsibility.
responsibility.
It's one of
Excuse
them.
me. Excuse me.
But it's
I
our
will
job
not
to
allow
investigate.
anyone to cross-examine and abuse my staff. I want to be clear about that. That
And I
ends today.
understand, but it
That
is
ends
our
today.
job.
That ends today.
It is
We are
our-
not, my staff gets death threats. Do you
Oh, I'm
understand
sorry
that?
about that.
No, no, sorry is not enough. If anything happens to my staff, I will hold you personally responsible. You will not mistreat my staff. I am responsible beginning and end of what happens in this county.
Okay, but what, I don't think you understand that one of your staff just threw the director under the bus a few minutes ago. And so what I'm asking.
I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear her say that she should check the correct file because everything's in the file? She just checked the wrong file?
No, I didn't hear that at
Well,
all.
I did. I heard her say that to her, about her.
I didn't hear that at
So
all.
what I'm saying is that it seems like there is a staff issue and that it comes down to, at the end of the day, we are the board. It is our responsibility to find out exactly what happened, whether there was a mismatch in the files, why the files were sent wrong, and who sent the file.
At the end of the day, that is my responsibility, and I take it very
Correct, but-
seriously, and I will not allow you to cross-examine my staff and abuse my staff. It ends.
It's not.
It ends
it's not
tonight.
an
It
abuse.
ends
It is
tonight.
an investigation.
It ends tonight. It ends tonight.
I don't want to interrupt, but if I could just say something like, you shared that you've initiated, Judge
Agella.
you've initiated this, you've contacted us, you let the board know. And I think that what you were referring to with Emily that was about the poll workers, that
Correct.
file, that wasn't related to this.
No. that was different.
I think personally, I think that was a great, great move to ask for, kind of a, look-see, and I'm willing to wait, and I think those answers would come, from, the judges and, your consultants, review. And I'm perfectly fine with that, and I think that would be great.
I want to say one more thing. You have to understand what perspective we come from, okay? Because just like last night, we as a board get blamed for the mistakes in the Bureau. It doesn't matter what mistake it is, we get blamed for it. We get to hear the public. You guys get to be in an office most of the time and not hear what we go through or not deal with what we go through. The lack of paper, last election, the last general, those things come before us. That's our responsibility, and we get yelled at by the public. So when I ask whose responsibility it is, it's not to hurt anybody or to cause problems. What it is to allow the public to know that I care that there was a mistake made and that I am going to try to get to the bottom of it, because they don't have trust in the Bureau or the board anymore. They don't. They are done. They are tired of the mistakes, as are we.
Walk a day in my shoes, Miss Fisera.
I know you
Walk a day.
go
Walk a
through
day
hell,
in
and
my
I know
shoes.
you do.
You will
I've
not,
watched it.
I will not have you publicly interrogate and abuse my staff
And I'm not.
because they get death
abusing
threats. My staff gets death threats.
And
Do you
so do I.
understand? Do you
Ms. Carpenter,
understand
So
that?
do I.
Do you understand
So
that?
do I.
And if
And I'm
anything
sorry that
happens to
everybody
any
gets
one of
that.
them, I will hold you accountable.
Well, are you going to be held accountable for my death threats as well? Because I've gotten plenty too, and I can show them to you. I can actually show them to
Okay,
you.
I think at this point, we're proceed, I think it's excellent, and with the review. And I think if there are any questions after that, and we will also be briefed on that, you shared that, then I'm sure that will be an adequate explanation. And I think that is sufficient for me. I think we've discussed this at length. I think it's time to move
You have
on.
a response on the
Thank you.
other thing. You have a response on the.
Yeah, we can get back to that.
And Ms. Pecora wants to speak.
Yeah, I think Ms. Pecora, I think she didn't put her hand down. I think it's still up on the last time. The only other question I had was just a confirmation, it wasn't really a question. With the Jenkins Township and the Nanticoke City polls, they have the ballot questions and the explanations. I just wanted to confirm that those polls will have I think they have to have 3 notices posted at each poll. And those judges have been briefed that they have to post those. I think we're mandated statutorily to put them up. So that's all good. Just to, if you'll just say yes, it's on the recording. So anyways, okay. So Miss Arby shook her head yes. I don't know if it picked up on the recording. We'll move on to item number 7. And that really is kind of the
Yeah,
same
we
thing.
pretty much did that
So we're gonna
already,
move
yeah.
through that, which is number 8.
Oh,
And
wait, we do need one more thing. There was an issue with these ballots because the issue remains that we have, what's the number of the ballots for Wilkes-Barre, 1,500? Okay, so what we have to figure out what to do in this case, because if someone doesn't send in or throw out the one ballot and then they have the other ballot on the table and they mistakenly put one into the other, into the new envelope, how are you going to handle that situation?
We have Attorney Gates, who will speak to that issue. We have a solution to that. Attorney Gates, our consultant, should be on the call.
I'm here.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Can you hear me all right?
yes,
Yes.
Great, great. Well, first of all, I mean, I think it's important to understand that there's not going to be any double voting going on. I know that's a big concern for folks out there when you talk about ballot errors and other ballots going out. The system, the way it's designed, is going to cancel labels so that folks, when they send their labels back, it can only scan one label per voter. So regardless of what ballot they put into that envelope, only one ballot's going to get scanned. And then the way the system is designed is pretty typical for provisional balloting, and it is when somebody votes a provisional ballot in the wrong precinct, every eligible election that they are eligible to vote for will be counted, and those elections or races that they're not eligible for will not be counted. So this will be handled the same way, which is if somebody puts the old ballot in that has the wrong ward information in it, they'll vote for every eligible race, but that ward that they have voted for that wasn't their own ward will not be counted. So that's how you handle that. One ballot per voter, and every race that they're eligible to be voting for is counted, and those that aren't eligible to be counted are not counted.
right. I think the question,
Oh,
wait,
yeah,
That's not what I meant, because.
Your question was if somebody places the old ballot into their envelope and seals it and they send it in, what happens, right?
Correct, but you're talking about the sanctity and the privacy of the ballot. The ballot, you will not know came from that voter.
When the ballot
You're
is.
talking about a mix-up of a ballot at a polling place. I'm talking about a completely different.
No, he's saying that it's handled the same way.
But it
As a
can't be
provisional
handled
ballot.
the
It
same
sure
way.
can
What
be.
I'm saying, the ballot is separated once that it is taken out. Once it is taken out of the outer envelope, it is passed on and it is separated.
Right.
You will not know where that ballot came from. So you cannot tell that ballot, it will and could affect a race. Sometimes these races come down to one vote. And what I'm saying is.
There's a piece that I didn't mention, and that is the segregation. Whenever you have an error in a ballot or you have an issue, a technical issue, what you typically do is you segregate those ballots so they don't get commingled with other ballots. So that if you have to look back in time and figure out if there's a challenge and you got to deal with the ballots that have been challenged, you're mitigating the risk that they're going to be commingled with others. So these ballots in mine are a small number. I think the first issue was somewhere in the range of 1,500 ballots. That's the city misprint issue. And then the second is somewhere in the range of 200 ballots. I'm not talking about large numbers of ballots, but those ballots will be segregated. And again, for the
Right.
voter that votes the ballot, if they vote the wrong ballot, meaning the one that has the wrong ward information, then when those ballots are segregated, the county's going to know that it's from the wrong precinct and they're not going to count it.
Okay. So we are definitely, that was my question. We are definitely segregating these ballots. We are going to keep them in a stack. And the one wrong ballot that comes in, that's in there, we are gonna make sure that that race is not counted for that ballot, correct?
Yes.
All right,
Correct.
we are good. I am happy with that. I'm good. Thank you very, very much.
My pleasure.
So during adjudication, I understand that. Okay. All right. The last item on the agenda is transparency. Ms. Pissarro asked for, also for this to be on the, transparency between Luzerne County Administration and Luzerne County Board of Elections and Registration. Ms. Pissarro asked for this to be added to the agenda for discussion and possible board vote.
So, Ms. Carpenter, can you please, because I do have questions for you. I think that my issue, you know, I did send you an email about about this issue. And I can't speak for all the board members, but I can speak for myself when I say that I look at the newspaper, I pick up the newspaper, or my mom sends me an article that there was something that happened at the election bureau with ballots, and the board was not notified at all. I checked back, I'm like, okay, maybe I missed an email somewhere. I didn't see the email. And I go into the email and there is no email on the ballot issue that happened. I think that you committed initially to be very transparent with the board and with the public and with council and everything. And somehow that did not happen in the case with the secrecy envelopes. We all read it in the paper before any of us got any information, and we didn't even get any information before I sent out an email. I'm like, I sent it actually to just the board members and said, anybody else hear this? Because none of us had heard it. We just saw it in the paper. And I'm just asking for future transparency that we get notified of any major issues that happen with balloting or voting, or really, you know, I understand that this was not an issue of the Bureau at all. So it could have been simple to just let us in on the fact of what happened and where it failed. We already knew that there was an issue in other counties. Somebody sent me an email saying the same thing happened in Lancaster County. Here's the article. And I'm like, oh, that's not us, or that's a completely different situation. I have no idea what you're talking about. Ours weren't with ballot envelopes. And they said, yes, it was. And they sent me the article. That's how I found out. I shouldn't have to find out. Like, we're the Board of Elections and Registration. We're oversight. So supposedly that's what we've been told. I don't know anymore. So
I explained to you what happened in that situation, not only my response of the email, but this evening. I want to challenge anyone in this room to tell me what county manager prior to me was as transparent, not only when it comes to election board issues, but any other issue that's going on in the county. We give weekly updates about what is going on. We invite you to go to the LNA testing. We invite you to come in and help us with the proofing. So if you want, if I'm not doing my job the way you think I should be doing it, I'll do exactly what my predecessors did.
all I'm asking is that we find out what's going on.
And I
with
explained to
ballots
you,
prior to it hitting the
and I
news.
explained to you what happened with that issue. I explained it to you in my email, and I explained it tonight. No, I'm not gonna go back and not notify the board or the public or council.
The person that contacted me was yelling at me to tell me that we were screwing up yet again. Because they were threatening, or not threatening, but telling me that we were a screw up again.
Well,
But
then,
I didn't even know what they were talking about.
then
Should I
refer
at
them to me.
least-
Then refer them to me. Then refer them to me. I have no problem dealing with people like that. Refer them to me. But you tell me as a board. Do you want me to stop the weekly updates? Is that what you want me to do?
No, absolutely not.
You want me not, I do notify you what's going on. And I notify the public and I notify you when I know exactly what the issue is, how we're going to fix it. We put the calendar in such a way because there are things that happen during the course of an election. Our sister counties are dealing with issues that are very serious because things happen during an election. And I'll tell you tonight, on election day at 7 o'clock, our phones are gonna ring because every election, that's what happens. Because a judge doesn't show up or poll workers don't show up, or someone who's supposed to open the building doesn't open the building, or the poll workers don't put the machines in to charge them. That happens. And it's going to happen on this election day. So we'll keep you updated because we keep a list. At least in 2021, when I was here, we had a list of all the issues that happened. And it's my understanding now, the state wants us to report the issues that are happening, and we will do that. And we have done that. And I applaud and thank the staff at the Election Bureau for being on it. Because it matters.
And it does matter.
It matters to all of us.
It's-
My workers go in, they believe in what they are doing. They believe in the sanctity of votes and the sanctity of democracy. I get emails, I get texts from the staff that say the election has to be fair. We have to do this. We have to think of this voter. We deal with that. Ask our consultant.
And I understand that. What I'm asking is very, like I said, it's very simple. Just can the board be notified prior to the hitting the news? Okay, that's the only.
I don't know that. I don't know that because we have very good reporters who have very good sources other than people in this room. There are times that I pick up the paper and I'm like, is this what's going on?
Oh, okay.
No one told me.
Granted, and I even understand that. I'm even gonna hand that to you, even 5 days after, like, we just, I think an explanation at some point, oh crap, the board's gonna find out, can we at least offer them some sort of explanation? That's all I'm asking. I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but I'm just asking for courtesy to the board to let us know if there's an issue, if there's a major issue. This is a major issue. This is possibly, we talked about this is possible litigation too. And chances are we're the ones that are going to end up being involved in that litigation because we always are. And so these are things that we would like to know. And I'm saying we, but I know me personally, I would like to know if something that I'm going to be involved in is going to be an issue. And that's all I'm asking. Is just transparency when there is an issue.
When I found out the information you received the information. When I knew it was a paper jam at the printer, you received that information. When I knew what our solution was to that problem, you received information. I stand by how I handled the issues and how my staff handled these issues during this election. And you should be thanking them.
I am, and I'd like to, and I think one thing that is really kind of the elephant in the room to me is this, is a recognition that the Bureau leadership and the administration is always like, you know, under the microscope, you know, and blamed, and in elections, it's tense, and it's all over the nation, not just in Luzerne County, and the board gets their fair share too. And so I think there's just this tension that kind of comes out sideways sometimes, maybe because we get the brunt of it a lot, you get the brunt of it a lot, and maybe some of that's just coming out right now. And I recognize that. I think you've asked your question. I think it was duly noted. She heard you out. She responded, did the best she could, it sounded like, and was busy that night, did get the email out as soon as possible. I think it's a bit of a frustration on what all of us go through in elections, you know, and especially this time, it's very tense. It's right before an election day. And I think there's something to say for that as well. Anybody else before we move
Yeah,
on?
I'd like to say that, first of all, I appreciate your updates. I appreciate the explanation and brevity and clarity, and it keeps all of us up to date without having to go back over 5 days. We get it all in a nice blur. Secondly, I appreciate you being here at the meetings. That's
nobody else
refreshing.
from.
That's refreshing because a lot of the answers are immediate. Okay, I mean, you've got your finger on the pulse of everything that's going on. What amazes me is you have 7 or 8 other departments. I don't know if you go to their meetings as well, but the fact that you've been here at every meeting since you become our county manager again, I appreciate it because it offers a lot to us in terms of, number one, your involvement, 2, understanding issues that we deal with and the board deals with and the public when they speak. So you get to hear everything. And I know that you take that into consideration. So I just want to thank you for being here, providing insight and experience and so on and so forth and explanations, because it helps clarify for us certain things. I'm not going to get into the personal side. We've all gotten threats. Okay, you get threats. This is just one of you're like an octopus with all these arms. I get it. So please keep doing what you're doing for us in Fayette County.
Thank you.
Again, I have to echo Mr. Mangan. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Speaking personally, I would rather the time be spent fixing whatever occurs. I mean, the problem is that, not that we make the same mistake over and over again. Make a mistake, and okay, well, there'll never be another paper shortage in the county. Won't be a toner shortage either, I understand. But there's always something new coming up. Again, you said it's the nature of elections. There's always going to be something new that happens. Like, all right, we had a machine jam when it was stuffing the envelopes. I don't know what happened with the files that got, but it might not be it probably has nothing to do with the person who sent the file. It might have been something that just didn't sync up right when it was being transmitted. Nobody's fault. Who knows? That'll probably come out. You're investigating that. I do want to thank you. I'd rather the Bureau spend their time fixing whatever comes up or getting the solution to whatever comes up than, you know, and then send us a nice little, like Mr. Bang said, nice little explanation. What's going on? Here's what's happening. I don't need to know, you know, I don't need to have 3 or 4 emails while this is happening. I'll find out. And I got to say too, as far as people, I've never had a death threat. I don't know. I've had some gentle ribbing, usually from relatives and some other people I know, but you know, to me, the public has been very kind. So, you know,
Republicans,
you know, maybe, well.
I I,
you
on the
know,
other
it's-
hand, am told frequently that I need to resign when all these things come up, and I get an email for that, so,
Yeah.
but that's just aside.
Yeah.
I'm used to it, I know I'm
Yeah.
gonna get them, and anyways, I agree with Audrey and Mr. Mangan, and also would like to thank you for all you're doing and keeping us updated, and I agree, addressing it and sending us the email, letting us know, and I would rather that than multiple emails and enter into a discussion that gets involved then, and appreciate your keeping us posted.
Or no emails at all. Or- I'm just saying, no,
And I meant no disrespect in the fact that I do have to say, I do not mean, if it sounded or implied that I do not appreciate you, that is not what I meant in any way, because I do appreciate you. And I know that people attack you a lot, okay? And I have said things that I regret, okay, in a public meeting. So if at any time I have offended you, I apologize for that, okay? Because that is not meant to be that way. My concerns simply are with the fact that I will go home tonight and I will have 5 or 10 messages in both my Facebook and in my email and everything else telling, with threats because, or, because we didn't get to the bottom of certain things. And I try my best. And that's what you're watching, me trying my best to get to the bottom of what exactly happened, and so it doesn't happen again. And Title 25 tells me to do that. It tells me to investigate irregularities, anything election related, election irregularities, and other fraudulent things, but we're not talking fraud here, we're talking about an irregularity, so.
All right. We're going to move on now to comment on.
No, we have to read that. Jen Pecora.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't forget.
Yes, Ms. Pecora did send a message, and maybe she's on. I think.
I'm here.
I don't know if this is old, something you already said about the transfers to individuals was completely for staff.
Yes.
Do you
So
want?
just to clarify, so the transfers to individuals was completely for staffing services in prior years. That was appropriated correctly to other contractual, where it should go. So we did fix that. So that's why you will see that difference. Small tools and equipment budget was re-entered into the proposed 2024 budget. We did have it budgeted for the 2023 year. We haven't used anything of it yet. So we would use, for example, like this would be for anything to repair small pieces on machines, latches, snaps, things like that. So anything that would be on our physical equipment. We haven't used it at all this year, but we did keep it in the budget. In prior year, in 2022, we had purchased some things in the warehouse that should have been under a line item called small tools and equipment, but we didn't have it. So I believe that was under other contractual. So we created that line item for 2023 to appropriately represent that. So I hope that clears that up as far as the small tools and equipment. Do you have any other questions on that? Because I do have the information as well.
I don't. Anybody?
no.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Excuse me. Our 2020 HAVA reimbursement, we had $160,262.23 in allowable expenses. Allowable expenses that was reimbursed in the first packet, and then we had an additional $5,547.37 for allowable expenses, and our grant award was for approximately $172,000, and that was for 2020, but the grant reimbursement wasn't submitted until the end of 2022. So I do have the breakdown of the invoices and reimbursements for that. And then our, let me just find our other award for, sorry, I have a bunch of screens open, but I'm gonna get this. Okay, so we were awarded for 2022 HAVA funding, which is the election security grant. We were awarded $25,364.59. We haven't, I do not believe today, I will have to confirm this with Michelle Sparich, if we put anything in for reimbursement. We had to extend, we filed for an extension for the deadline to get the reimbursement, and we are under that right now. So I know Michelle Sparich was working on that, and that was what the award was for the county for 2022.
So she's now kind of managing these too.
The problem and what we found with this grant, this seems to be, it's awarded, you're reimbursed for the expenses. It's every other year, and with the change in administration through the Bureau, through those years in COVID, I think the Bureau was handling it. But we're working now with our grants writer, like County Manager Crocomo had stated earlier. So we can provide that information to you for the 2020 complete. And then once we have everything for our 2022 reimbursement, we can get that to you. And it lists the specifics of what this grant can be used for as well.
Thank you, great, thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll move now into the comment on non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters not listed on the agenda, but which must be within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, or anything that they also want to talk about in the meeting. Limited to 3 minutes and 1 comment time per person. We'll start with anyone in person. If there's anyone in person you would like to speak. Doesn't appear that way. If there's anyone on the Zoom platform, just raise your hand. And again, when you speak, just state your name and your municipality, and go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Mark Rabo from Hazleton speaking. First of all, I would like to thank Manager Crocomo for being there, as well as the Bureau staff. I understand how tedious and monotonous and aggravating and infuriating the election process is, considering I've been going to election board meetings since 2013, when the Hazleton School Board there was a mishap with the Hazleton School Board race, and there had to be it had to go to litigation, and there was a revote for that election. It was because the candidates were not put on the Schuylkill County and Carbon County ballots, as the county manager would remember from that situation back in 2013, the election. So that being said, I have one issue to address that was on the agenda, which was the transcription. Maybe, and I agree with what Mr. Mangan said and Mr. Schramm said with respect to the technologies that are available. As Ms. Fusero said, that we at the Redevelopment Authority have verbatim minutes, but our meetings run only about an hour and 15 minutes. So therefore, we're able to do that. But I understand for the county council and for yourselves as the Board of Elections, your meetings run a little bit longer than that. So I would suggest that maybe you look into the technology to put in timestamps within the audio of the meeting, so that way it ties into the agenda item. So therefore, Madam Chair, as you said, you could reference the agenda item to that particular timestamp that's available. That might be a possible solution to look into. Also, the 2 concerns I have is one, and I mentioned this to Administrative Division Head Pecora about the nursing homes and the intensive care facilities for elderly and disabled people. I don't know if this is possible for the county manager to do because of the fact that it happened in 2020 as well, when we had the outbreak of COVID, for the sheriff's deputies to check in to see with who the point person is. And Madam Chair, I think you said this yourself too at the time you were getting on the board. And that is for the chain of custody for those care facilities and those retirement homes, that they would be able to have a point person, because also the attestation forms for that person to handle those mail-in ballots to send back to the election bureau would need to be annexed to those mail-in ballots to be accompanied with those mail-in ballots. So I don't know how that process would work, but that needs to be put in place, as well as the campaign finance, Madam Chair. There's one more thing about the campaign finance with the PACs. They haven't registered because you saw, I don't know if you and manager saw in the paper about the Democracy First PAC. Have they registered with the Election Bureau as per the campaign finance reporting law and United for Luzerne? Because those PACs, I didn't see them register on the website. So if anyone can answer that for me, the manager or the bureau or the board can answer that question for me, I'd appreciate it. So those two things I am concerned about for the mail-in ballots for those care facilities and the campaign finance. That's all I have. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on the Zoom platform who would like to make public comment? I don't see anyone on the telephone line. If there's anyone that is on the telephone line, you could just jump right in and start speaking. Doesn't appear that way. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Ms. Fasaro, is there a second?
I'll second.
By Mr. Schramm. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Abstentions, opposition, none heard. The meeting's adjourned at 7:56 p.m. Thank you, everyone. You'll just turn off your microphones?